Hello and welcome back to Damage Reports, where Mike and James, two middle-aged geeks, watch Star Trek in the 21st century and give you our review of it. How you doing this week, Mike?
I'm tired. How are you this week?
I'm all right. I'm a little tired. I was cranky earlier, so I had a lot of work and trying to get stuff done, and sometimes things pile up against you in the world.
Yeah, I went back to school full time. What the hell is going on up here? I went back to school full time.
Messy hair day.
And I thought it was fine, and it started kicking my ass last week. My English class, luckily, we have two texts to study: Superman Birthright and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So
those two, that's classic. Those two are always the ones they pick.
I just finished we had our second quiz on the second half of Superman Birthright, and I got 30 out of 31 questions right.
Nice.
And there was the one I got wrong. I wanted to argue so bad because it says it was, if for those of you who aren't familiar with Superman Birthright, it was a retelling of Superman's origin in the 2000s by Mark Waid and Leinil Yu. And it was kind of a post 9/11 thing. They never really explicitly say it, but you can tell there's a heightened level of paranoia, of terrorism and stuff. But it's when Superman first shows up in Metropolis and Lex Luthor is using the knowledge of Krypton against him and trying to turn public opinion against him, saying that he is the first a scout of a wave of aliens who are coming to invade, because Lex is able to uses this telescope to look back into the distant past, and he gets pictures of Kryptonian warships that have the S crest on it and say that Superman's a scout, they're coming to rule the world, and we need to get rid of him. So Superman fights. First, he's fighting these images. He doesn't know what's up, and he thinks he's fighting these things, but there's nothing there. So people are like, what's he doing? He's crazy. And then eventually Lex has people in Kryptonian body armor come out to actually fight him. And one thing leads to another. The public's against him. The fake Kryptonian soldiers are against him. But then Superman sees this kid about to get crushed by something, and he stops the fight and runs over and gets the kid and stops the thing from falling over on him. And everyone's like, man, Superman's okay. The question on the quiz was, when does the public start to support Superman? And it said the answer was when they see him fighting against the Kryptonians. And that was the answer.
And what was your answer?
The one that was on there, because it's multiple choice, was it's not in the text, because it's not that. And if you read it, it's not that they see him fighting, it's that they see him save the kid.
I'm about to say, there's a huge difference, and I think people miss that. And I think people who make DC Warner Brother films miss this all the time. There's a difference between fighting and saving.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, like, if that was one of the multiple choice of when he saved somebody is when, like Man of Steel is a pile of monkey garbage, but Kevin Smith did a review on it, and he said one of his favorite Superman images probably ever is in Man of Steel, which is Superman goes and picks up Lois Lane, flies her away, and we just see the cape and Lois's face as we see explosions in her eye and fear in her face of like, I could have died. I nearly just was killed. And it's Superman saving somebody from that. And yeah, how much that sums up in no dialogue and no anything, just in the imagery of like what it means for a hero, to have heroes, the importance of it. And I think they miss that all the time, because it's not the end of Man of Steel is not him saving Metropolis, but him fighting and destroying everybody and snapping some necks when he can. Just all sorts of shit where it's just like, good Lord, man. Like,
so yeah, that's how I'm doing on this week's Star Trek podcast. 20 minutes.
I'm glad we got that. So everybody knows how we're doing. So.
No one gives a shit.
There's that. So. All right, this week we are going to be reviewing the final episode of the first season of Star Trek Lower Decks, episode 10. Mike, did you watch Star Trek Lower Decks episode 10?
I did watch Star Trek Lower Decks episode 10, entitled No Small Parts. Did you, James?
I did. I watched it twice.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
For this one, it's a mixed thing, and
Okay.
anytime if there's an here's the thing with Lower Decks before we go in as if it's an episode I've liked, which has only happened 1.5 times, I'll rewatch it because I enjoy it. If it's an episode I'm not sure of, I'll watch it twice.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, oh, there was something here, but they didn't quite get, and that's what this one was. So before we go any further, let's get into spoiler alert territory.
Wee.
Mike, would you mind giving us a rundown of the episode?
I most certainly will. Episode 10, No Small Parts. Thanks to whoever wrote this on Wikipedia. I'll say it's some nerd. When the USS Cerritos is falsely called to action to rescue the crew of the USS Solvang, their ship gets attacked by, they're going to go right ahead on this one. Their ship gets attacked by the Packlids, who want to use Starfleet ships for parts. Rutherford discovers a virus from his holographic creation, Badgie, that can destroy the Packlet ship with his implant, so Shax takes Rutherford to a shuttlecraft to take them to the Packlet ship. There, Rutherford is able to download the virus, but Badgie wants revenge from terminal provocations and will only activate the virus if Rutherford dies. Shax rips the implant from Rutherford and sends him back to the shuttlecraft, but he stays behind, sacrificing his life to save Rutherford as the Badgie explodes and the Packlet ship also explodes, with Shax aboard. More Packlet ships come to the scrap the Cerritos, but the USS Titan rescues the Cerritos and the Packlet ships retreat. The Cerritos has a funeral for Shax. Rutherford gets rest in the medical room, but when Tendi comes to visit, he doesn't remember her due to the loss of his implant. While at first hurt, Tendi uses this opportunity for them to become friends again. Captain Freeman allows Mariner to work with her because she can't break protocol even for heroic reasons, while her daughter can. Mariner floods Boimler with calls on his pad, stating how angry she is for taking the promotion aboard the Titan and leaving, but Boimler tells his new crew she'll get over it. James, I want to apologize because that was absolutely the worst synopsis that Wikipedia could have allowed onto that Star Trek Lower Decks page. It has no nuance, and while I was excited that we had a full synopsis, that was shit.
Yeah. I mean, first off, before we get into the good and bad, Mike, what were your feelings on this episode?
That synopsis was bad.
Yeah, that synopsis was bad. Yeah,
I liked it. I liked it more than I thought I would based on the previews, and as it went along, I was like, this is a pretty good episode. The dislikes I have on it, we'll talk in the dislikes, but I think there was one big thing that I disliked is that it felt a little redundant having as much action as it did right after the movie episode, where that was full of action. Yeah. So a little bit of redundancy, but I really enjoyed the episode. I thought it was structured well as a season finale, where it had a lot of callbacks to the entire season, and little nuggets of things that we've seen thus far. My biggest complaint about a few episodes back with the Choo Choo Dance episode was that you mentioned the Titan and talk about how he got transferred there, but you don't mention that Riker's the captain of the Titan or anything like that. That got solved in this one.
Yep.
And that was the thing. It felt like a really good episode. It felt like a really good season finale, but it felt also redundant in the fact that we've seen a lot of these beats before. Yeah. We saw the action stuff in a couple episodes already. And it feels like if Lower Decks was a 4-part series or like a movie, that was the first episode, the Choo Choo Dance episode, the movie episode, and this one, it would have been a really tight like movie, it feels like. But as a season finale, it felt weird. As much as I liked it, it felt like, why couldn't the rest of the episodes be like this? Or how much of this was written and how much of the rest of the season was written to build to this? So kind of mixed, but I really enjoyed it.
Mine's mixed. I didn't enjoy it as much as I did like the 1.5 episodes I really liked. Episodes, I think 6 and 9 respectively. This one, I love that the stakes were high. That's great. We're doing this a season finale. If it doesn't come back, this could be the series finale.
Creator Mike McMahon just said this week that they've already finished writing the season finale of next season. Second season's already written and ready to go.
All right. So in a season finale, I want stakes to be a little high. So it is, and I think these are decent stakes, and I believe the stakes. What I didn't like, though, about the episode was definitely I don't know if you call it plot holes or if you would just call it conflict writing just for conflict's sake. And there's a lot of it in this. Like every now and again, you let it slide once or twice for a show, an episode, or a movie. Like, oh, they should just fix it this way, and we know that. And this one has that like every 2 or 3 minutes, where it's like you could fix this way, and they won't fix it this way because they need the plot.
There's another 20 minutes of episode.
Yeah, it would be a 5-minute episode. And I like that the last 6 minutes of this episode are after our conflict and with our characters just moving on out of this season. I really like that. So there were things I liked in this episode. It's not very funny. There is a good amount of Star Trek in it, and I like that the stakes were high. So why don't we start by getting into the good stuff? What did you feel was some of the best qualities of this episode?
I feel like it was very Star Trek-y. It fit in the universe more than any other episode, I think. Anytime that we've seen thus far where there's a conflict between Mariner being Captain Freeman's daughter, it felt contrived. But in this one, like, it was the point of the episode and it made it fit. It was like, no, there's a reason for you being here. There's a reason that we don't just get rid of you. There's a reason Boimler is so like goody two shoes. He wants to advance. And then like the relationships being there too, with the friendships and him not wanting her to leave because they're friends. And the callbacks worked. The callbacks worked and weren't horrible. The build to, hey, we know how to do this. We're going to have the exocomp sacrifice her life. And she's like, nope.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of my episode before. Yeah. And I'm not doing that. Yeah. I thought that was great. And finally seeing the Titan and seeing Captain Riker's ship in action was pretty cool. And it felt like something that it was a nice compliment to what we've seen in this show, where there are the better, more exploratory ships that are out there, the Enterprise, the Titan, what have you. And they did what the Enterprise and those ships always do. They came and they saved the smaller ship when they needed help.
Yeah.
And saved the day. And I thought that was neat. And the crew was appreciative that they did.
Yeah.
It wasn't one of those things where they were like, I feel like if it was another California class ship, they would have, or like one of the ships we met before, there would have been that animosity, like, we don't need your help.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was the Titan coming in, it felt very Star Trek-y. And the characters were true to themselves from the 10 episodes we've seen. I enjoyed that. We said it last week. I knew exactly how Tendi was going to react, where she's like, you don't remember us? We get to become friends again, which is so sweet and cute.
Yeah.
And it works for these characters. So I enjoyed that. I felt like it was the culmination of everything we've seen before. It just felt like none of it was totally brand new. And I think that that's what we've talked about a lot with this show, where they do so many callbacks that when they're big, huge callbacks, they kind of fall flat. Like, we've made jokes on this show about the Pakleds. So for the Pakleds to be the villain, it was funny to me. As soon as they showed up, I was like, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But it was like, but how is this different than, I know how it's different, but again, how is it different than all the name dropping they do?
Yeah.
And I will forgive the name drop on here of Ransom saying, oh yeah, TOS era. And she's like, TOS? And he was like, yeah, those old scientists like Spock and Scotty. It's so stupid.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of joke I want, like a nod to that, and not just saying, oh, like Captain Kirk, like this, like that. It was like a meta reference of what TOS means. Was very funny to me.
The TOS joke at the beginning kind of made me slap my head. I really wasn't buying it. What I did like was when they had a picture of looking at the old mission. It was the animation from the old Star. I thought that was a smart moment, because I was like, that's great. That's, again, like that's for guys our age. Like, the kids aren't watching the old animated Star Trek show, so we're fans, and even we're like, hey, that's the show we know the least. So I thought that was great. There was some good stuff. I love the exocomp. I've always had, because Next Generation, my favorite show, seeing an exocomp, the exocomp's name, Peanut Hamper.
Peanut Hamper.
Because it has a robot brain, it has artificial intelligence, but it took all the words that humans like, and found the two best ones that would go, and it's Peanut Hamper. And I thought that was funny. The other stuff I liked Badgie's return.
Yeah.
I also like a Star Trek with a conflict that has a relatable thing to beat. They're taking up everybody's technology, which means it has to all be easy to interface and connect with other technologies. Cool. Let's give it a virus and shut down their whole ship. Great. That's a very simple Star Trek science fiction sort of conflict. And how do we beat it? And if you are above 10 years old, you will understand what we're talking about. So I really like that. Rutherford was wonderful in this episode, and we had a great line of why do you sound so chipper? And he just goes, implant stuff, which made me happy, because he said that throughout the season 2 or 3 times now, like, hey, my implants are bothering me, or they're not working. So I really like that, and I really like the last 6 minutes after the conflict of just, let's see these characters and see them, how they're dealing after all this. We watched them for a year. Now let's see how they're dealing with that. So that was the stuff I liked, but there was a lot of stuff I didn't like.
Let's hear it.
All right, let's get into the bad stuff. The first thing is just like the plot holes, where it's either plot holes or it's forced writing for things. Of, they're beaming over to our ship. Let's get our phasers out. All of our phasers are in the armory. So now let's fight them with swords and combat items that have been left around the ship, hidden by Mariner. And I'm just like, all right.
I did like part of that, though. One of the items was the Star Trek helmet that they made in the 70s when they needed toys, because like there was like a need for Star Trek merchandise.
Okay.
So just this helmet with like a siren on top that had nothing to do with Star Trek, and that was one of those fucking items that fell out.
That's nice.
It was the stupidest, deepest cut, and it was like, all right, good for you guys. But that doesn't forgive, like you're saying, the convoluted nature of it.
Oh, well, we just had another. This is the second time. This season is 10 episodes, and this is the second time we've had a war with somebody who's supposed to be a friend, where they beamed onto the ship.
Yeah.
And what did Boromir do last time? Pulled out his phaser from his pants and just shot a guy. And I thought that was great, because that is how you would respond to somebody attacking you with a spear. But in this episode now,
not to interrupt you, I did enjoy the I feel bad, I'm not trying to interrupt you, and anytime you like shake your head, I'm like, no, I don't mean to. So I'm sorry that I'm ruining your train of thought. When the Packlids beam aboard and they're like, they're coming slowly, even their transporters are slow. I thought that was a nice little joke.
I liked, actually, another thing I could add to the stuff I like is all the Packlids jokes. I guess it could be considered a little bit like mean spirited or whatever. That's like, we're just making fun of a dumb group of people, but all their lines was fun. We've got you now, Enterprise, and then the Titan shows another Enterprise. And so, like, that made me laugh. If you're gonna have somebody be the idiot, then it needs to be consistent that they're the idiot.
It just made me sad again, thinking about how Pakled men must treat Pakled women, and that horrifies me.
Yeah.
The very idea of that.
Yeah. So we also had an episode just on space jumping. So when they had to get over to the other ship, I was like, oh shit, Rutherford and Tutty are gonna do the space jump like that we learned about. It's like, nope, I guess we don't have space. Is that also in the armory? Like, what all is in the armory that we can't get to fix these problems? So not just that, the captain goes to Mariner to figure out how to fix the problem. She wants her to come up with an idea to fix things. She doesn't go to her command crew. She does. It was just like all those things in this episode were just, whenever your writing takes me out of the episode and I'm thinking about why that doesn't work rather than the episode, you've definitely kind of failed on that. One of the big things is just we find out that the captain is the mother of Mariner, and I don't know why they haven't told everybody, and I don't know if the show has given us a real reason. So
I feel like they covered it enough in this where it was like not wanting to give her special like favors and like she'd be out if it was anywhere else. I mean, I didn't feel like that was too much of a stretch, and I liked that the crew finding out was their worst fear of like her getting special treatment by everybody else when neither of them wanted that and just wanted to give her a fair shake. I mean, I would imagine it would be like if David Marcus wanted to be in Starfleet, keeping the name David Marcus and not wanting to be James Kirk's son because of all the expectation on him.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I don't, it's like, no, the captain wants to keep it secret, or I want to keep it secret because I want to fly under the radar. I don't, they never gave us a clear answer. And without that clear answer, we're trying to like take all these little answers and make them work together. So this season we've been watching a spoiled brat trust fund kid. And then when it's found out that she is a spoiled brat trust fund kid, everybody just kisses her ass for the rest of it. And I was just like, my God, this is just shit. So all I could think about is like, I don't care about this crew. I don't care about these people. And I don't care about any of their situation. And so that kind of and that's the start of the episode. So that was really hard to bounce back from.
See, I didn't take it that way. I for me, it was enough to understand where they were coming from, because the way Ransom treated her, especially when he was doing the evaluation of both her and Boimler in his quarters, Freeman doesn't want her to get any special treatment, but of course Ransom's not going to treat her fairly because he doesn't want the captain to treat him differently. So it was just the idea of the weird love triangle of, I'm going to be lenient on you because I want the captain to like me, but then Freeman saying that's not fair to her because you're only being lenient to her because of who I am. I felt that was a nice dynamic. It's basic for how they kept it secret, but I think that was enough for me on it.
But then even Mariner calls it out. So it's down to picking the right person, because he's like, wow, your application's perfect, Boromir, but I don't know, Mariner's the captain's daughter. So it's like, okay, so it's not about Starfleet, it's about how you can get ahead. I don't know. I just was like, cool. Well, fuck you. Like, fuck all of you. Like, I don't know why I'm watching a show with you. So that was rough. The no phasers, no spacesuit. The pointless death of the security officer was, I don't know why he didn't get back into the shuttle and fly back. I don't know why they had to fly a shuttle over there. I don't know any. I like all of it. Just seems there's like 10 different ways we can fix this. And I don't know why you're choosing to go this road, other than you don't know enough about Star Trek, whoever wrote this episode, or you're doing this just because you need to fill the time.
I took it as it being a drama, not a Star Trek, but as a drama season finale, where like the stakes are so high that someone's going to die.
Yep.
I was surprised that they did it. I thought it was pretty bold of them to do it that way. But I thought it was building to something else. They mention in that little epilogue moments, they mention wondering who the new security chief was going to be, and I was worried it was going to be something weird, like all of a sudden Worf's here and now Worf is the security chief, and I was like, I hope they don't do that, because then that's like taking away from his character from where he is at the end of Deep Space Nine at this point. But I just found that to be weird that there was no payoff to it. So I didn't see the point of it, but I didn't mind it. I don't think the way it affected you. I thought it was okay. I liked him calling him Baby Bear as he kicked the shuttle off. I thought that was neat. And then even the stakes of tearing out Rutherford's implants. Like, we never got the full story of why he needed them or what they were, but that was grisly.
Yeah,
and it was pretty fucked up, and I liked it. But I was interested. I mean, it's interesting, and I'm interested that you didn't like his death, because I thought it was one of those season finale like big moments.
Yep.
Even though maybe I can agree with you that it wasn't earned,
Yeah.
but I wonder how earned it could be on a cartoon.
Fair, but if we're gonna kill, if we're gonna sacrifice somebody from the crew, it's a space battle with Neanderthals. There's a million different ways you could do that. Having it, I need to rip this out of your head, put you in the shuttle, and send you back while I stay here and fight on a ship that's gonna blow up. That doesn't make any sense. So if somebody, because Badgie still uploaded it. Like, yeah, just the logic breaks down real fast there, where you're like, okay, if as soon as they went to the shuttle, he saw that the Neanderthals were breaking the head to save the ship because they understood what was going on, then he would have to go back and fix it again, and he gets blown up. Just something. And they didn't have like anything like that. And
I can't remember. I'll have to go back and see, because I remember that the self-destruct turned on, but I thought that the self-destruct was separate from what Badgie did. I thought Badgie wasn't going to finish his until Rutherford was dead, and that the Packlids set the self-destruct. Maybe I'm remembering it
wrong. But then again, why did the security officer stay then?
Wasn't the ship I thought the shuttle was disabled or something, so it was like they couldn't both get off, and he had to push it off. Like I said, I don't have a perfect answer. I'm not defending it. I don't even remember, so that's how much it stuck with me.
Yeah. To me, it just felt one of those, like, this is more plot devicey writing that we need to get through. And there was, just stuff like that. Like, Boromir even says, like, why are you acting like this, Mariner? You don't act like this normally. And she was like, yeah, I'm all over the place. And I was just kind of like, yeah, your writers don't know who you are. They don't have your voice yet. They don't understand you as a character yet. They tried something, it failed, and then they tried adjusting, which is fine. If you start out as one character, and as things, as a show goes on, characters can change, but you need to make some decisions, and you're not. And this episode is a big painting picture of that, of like, we didn't make any decisions. So
I look at it the other way. I think that this is what it'll be like going forward next season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously there's going to be some contrivance where Boimler comes back to the Cerritos, but I feel like the growth that we've seen is going to be what we see next season with these characters. If it's another like couple episodes where it's like Mariner not living up to her potential and then having to step up and everyone likes her and then she fucks up again, it's going to get really boring really fast, and I'll feel betrayed. But I think and I hope that this is a nice little reset, and this is what at least the next season is going to be. Because I mean, I enjoyed where they were now, and like I said, what I didn't like was how you had the big action and the big outlandish action last week, and then this week was a big action episode, and I felt that was really unbalanced. And especially like the moment where the nacelle gets ripped off, I was like, okay, this is fucked up. Like this is the damage, this is the destruction of the ship type stuff that we just saw in the movie episode, but now it's really happening. So maybe if the movie thing had happened a couple episodes ago and not just back to back, maybe that would have felt a little bit better for me. But I look at it more as like a work in progress. We discussed how we thought they took some guidance halfway through the season and made a couple of course corrections.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what this was, and that what we see at the end of this season is what's going to be going forward. And I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah. Time will tell. I don't know if I was, CBS and choosing shows, I don't know if I would choose this for a second season. Like I don't.
I think it's a given, man. CBS needs Star Trek.
Well, there's that, so that's different. But yeah, and we can talk about that too, just like our feelings of now that the season's wrapped on this. We can give a review for this show and then give an overall review for the season.
Before we do that, you heard today's news about the other cartoon, right? That's coming out next year.
Is it the Voyager spinoff?
Yeah,
yeah.
It's not like it's like a weird. They say, and warning for you, James. Warning for you. They are making no qualms about this being a kids show on Nickelodeon. a
I
CGI kids show on Nickelodeon where 4 kids find a derelict ship and start going on adventures, and somehow Janeway is a part of it.
yeah, Star Trek Babies. So I think there's an opportunity in Star Trek Babies. I don't think anybody needs to respect it or hold it up like it's some sort of great thing. But I do think Star Trek Babies is a money that's got money written all over it. Give me some Star Trek baby. Get them in a Happy Meal.
Be nice.
Okay.
Be nice.
No, we'll see. I think what makes me nervous is like I said, the Comic-Con interview where the other producers kept talking about the brand of Star Trek, which again, it is a brand. I'm just an idiot and I never saw it that way.
I don't like to. I refuse to accept seeing it that way.
It really to me is kind of like if somebody was like, hey, you need to write a play version, or Aaron Sorkin did a play version of To Kill a Mockingbird. And if Aaron Sorkin's like, well, the To Kill a Mockingbird brand that I really want to bring it, I like it, just taking a concept or a story and calling it a brand. And Star Trek is, because it had so many different stories and so many different things. I get that it is. I just never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
And then after hearing that, it's like, yeah, it's Nabisco.
Again, thank you for watching our Star Trek podcast for that
where
acronym.
We talk about everything but Star Trek.
Also, Mockingbird Lane. No, but yeah.
So that was, and then the button at the end of this episode was Boromir gets a promotion on the Titan, which is not the ship they were talking about through the whole show.
Uh-huh.
So
no, it was the
Sacramento.
San Clemente or the Sacramento,
yeah, that they're talking about getting a promotion to the whole time. And then the Titan shows up and then he gets promoted. So there's still a promotion she can go after. And she's calling and leaving him a bunch of voicemails. Again, I know the writers don't know what their character is, but you need to make a decision, because it's like, why is this person, if this isn't if she's really friends with this person, then why did she want to leave? Or not, we should leave together. And then
I think that was baked into this episode. Like she didn't want to leave until she was outed and embarrassed. And then the fight when he says, I didn't want you to leave because you're my friend. Mm-hmm. They have that moment of her facial animation softening. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was sweet. And then to still be like betrayed by that, I could see where she is like, hey, that's messed up. Come back.
Do you think she was embarrassed when she was outed? Because everybody then just starts kissing her ass.
I thought she was embarrassed. She hated it. She didn't want that treatment. She just wanted to be the young cool kid. She didn't want to be like she wanted people to think she was the cool kid, not be forced to think she was a cool kid based on her parentage.
Gotcha. But she wouldn't have gotten onto a starship without her parentage. Like, she's worthless.
And that's what I think. I wish we found out more about her time on the Keto and like why she was sent to the Cerritos. Yep. I thought it was neat, and it bolstered the character that Riker knew her and her mom, and it gives it a legitimacy that we wouldn't have had otherwise. But that's the kind of stuff you put in a pilot that like gives you the reason why you watch these characters going forward. That's why Picard was in I was going to say, that made me laugh. That's why Picard was in the Deep Space Nine pilot, to give that some legitimacy. And then they didn't give a shit about Voyager, so that's why Quark was in the first episode of Voyager. Oh, those step kids.
Yeah. So that was kind of, those were my issues with the episode. There was stuff I liked, and I didn't say it enough. Badgie's return. He was underused, but it's just nice to see Badgie. I really liked that they brought in a couple of things they'd learned over the season. Mm-hmm. It wasn't beating us over the head, but it was nice to say like, oh, wait, we can do this because we did this before. Or we could do this because we've done this before. I was hoping they would go even further. As soon as the exocomp turns out to be a dick and is not going to go through with the mission of getting a virus over there, I was like, oh, they're going to have to space jump. And it's going to have to be like, we just had a whole episode on them learning how to space jump. So it's like, this is going to be great. And that's not it at all. It was like, nah, forget that. So,
what I find interesting is, and I hate that I keep saying that with the show, it's one of my like tells. You know what I find interesting? That's the two things you can guarantee on damage reports with James and Mike, that we don't talk about Star Trek.
Yep.
That I say something I found interesting. But you haven't seen the second season of Discovery.
Mm-mm.
And I don't know if this was a joke about the end of the second season of Discovery, but there were these things called short treks that were these
Yep.
10 to 15-minute short films that they put out
Mhm.
that all ended up tying into the second season of Discovery. They came out before the second season, but then throughout the season, they all an aspect of them became an important part of Discovery.
Mhm.
And then at the end, everybody shows up. The end is basically like the Avengers Endgame of Star Trek Discovery, where every plot point comes into play. So I think that was more successful on Discovery, because this was just, like you said, it didn't call the actual plot points. It didn't have the space jump. It was more of like, hey, we're going to have a couple of these things. But if it was a parody of how Discovery had the kitchen sink thrown in at the end,
Mhm.
I found that interesting. And I'm worried if you didn't like that you're not going to like how Discovery ended.
I think I would have liked it again had it just been a better written episode. Had it been, when they first blew up that first ship, I was like, we just had a joke about them giving out crayons to kids, so it felt like it didn't feel balanced. And so I was like, okay, so then they just killed a ship and a whole crew. So the stakes are now high, and we're going to see our crew rise to that occasion. And they're not going to show up and throw crayons at the problem, and they did. And I like this, that the stakes were that high, and I like that the stakes were that high, and we found a reason to bring this ship in. It's a distress call from anything, so anybody could just show up. It's not a big, and even Titan was nearby. Tell Titan not to worry, we'll go check it out. I know, I dig that. It was just going from that point to the last 6 minutes is a lot of, well, I guess I'm just going to forget everything I've learned from every Star Trek movie and television show so that you can get your plot across. And that was the rough part. And it was also it was also the idea that we find out that they are mother and daughter, Mariner and the captain. And the reason why they don't want it to be known, it's not like it's illegal or something. We had Beverly Crusher and Wesley, who they mention in the episode.
Yeah.
I was fine with it, because at least they're acknowledging that there have been parents and kids on a ship, because they were making it sound like it's never happened.
But that was the weird thing, because from what I know of like Star Trek extended like continuity, is that Wesley is the engineer on the Titan. So I thought he was going to show up too. I'll have to look that up while we talk. But I thought that was one of those things where I was like, that's weird that they're not even mentioning that.
Yeah. So I think I like the stakes, and I like the start of the episode, and I like the end of I like the last 6 minutes of seeing them be who they are later. If you're going to do a show that's going to be connecting, each episode's going to kind of connect to the next, then we should see characters grow. If it's just the characters always start back off at zero, that sort of Incredible Hulk or Scooby-Doo 1970s television show writing, which I like, by the way. I'm okay with that. If we're back at zero again, who am I? We solve mysteries. That's it. Doesn't matter that we solved 500 mysteries. That's what we do. We're kids that solve mysteries. So it's okay.
It's the total. The Simpsons covered it with the everything's going to be reset by next week, and it's when they pull back in the Flanders, pull back in the driveway, and it's like, hell, how you doing?
Yep.
Sorry to give you this to take away from this.
No problem.
This is typical Star Trek novelization bullshit. So here's the crew of the Titan: Captain Riker, Commander Christine Vale, whoever that is, maybe she's somebody. Tuvok, Troy, Chief Engineer Wesley Crusher, Head Medical Officer Ogawa. So it's like,
wow,
Starfleet has the same 10 people that we all know. Oh God. Anyways, my bad.
Yeah. So that was it. I really like Rutherford in this. I just wish they knew what they were doing with Mariner, and they made a choice on it that worked. and that wasn't the best concept we can come up with is she's a trust fund kid and everybody's just going to kiss her ass to get money or a promotion. And I was just like, wow. Because if that is the case, if that is the show, then I don't need to see season 2. Like, I don't, like, do something with this show. And
trust them to do more than that. I think from what I took, again, wasn't so much that they were kissing up to her, is that they didn't want to discipline her because they didn't want the captain to be mad at her. And I think that's an interesting dynamic. It wasn't like it was, here's Wesley, let's be nice because his mother's important. It was, we have to be nice because her mom is our boss.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an interesting enough dynamic where it was different enough for me. It wasn't a good payoff. I mean, we've known since the first episode that they were mother and daughter, but the evolution that we see was all between the two of them, and kind of just gets undercut with the revelation this week. You see the consequences of it, but it didn't feel like it was enough. It felt like it was too stuffed of an episode. And again, worked for a season finale, worked for me. I enjoyed it. I wish it could have been better. And I'm not going to write the show off yet. I think it has about I'd say 0.6 or a 0.75 batting average for me. But I didn't totally dislike it. I've started rewatching Enterprise in the last week or two. I cannot stand that show. So, I mean, I like this more than that.
Well, like Voyager took me, I think, 3 times before I could even make it to season 2.
Voyager, the only time I finally forced myself to sit through every episode, the summer of 2016 when I was unemployed for that summer and just waiting for a job interview that I knew was coming at the end of August. And I was like, look, you're getting paid. You have nothing to do. It's a hot summer. You're going to watch Voyager. And I was like, okay, this isn't as bad as I expected.
Yeah. It's so hard for me to get past the first 4 episodes, and I did make it all the way through Enterprise, but I fast forwarded a lot. Like I watched some of them live, because it was airing back when television was still a thing, and so I did watch some of them live. But I also would leave the room as soon as Brett Spiner shows up as the other space seed.
And somehow he was a Soong, and we never heard that Data's ancestors were like.
Oh, they tried to connect it at the end where he is like, maybe artificial intelligence is the way to go, and it shows him writing stuff down. It was like, lame. The ghost of lame comes out and haunts him.
But hey, they got Spiner.
Yeah.
An interesting note, speaking of people showing up in all the episodes or in all the series, I never put it together, but with this appearance, Riker has been on every live action show since Next Generation.
That's right, because he's been Enterprise
and animated.
He's the animated and Picard. All right,
he hasn't been on Discovery, but he's directed episodes, and he's actually directing an episode of Discovery that is going to be the 800th overall episode of Star Trek. So it's neat that he has that landmark.
And as much as I think that Picard is just a horrible show, I will say Jonathan Frakes is he is a solid director. And everybody that works with him, the cast, because I guess Patrick Stewart directed some episodes.
I think they all did except Gates McFadden.
Yeah, everybody took turns directing. And everybody was either like, I'll never do that again, or the rest of the crew was like, you should really never do that again. But everybody said the same thing. Jonathan Frakes was really easy to work with, where he was very inviting, very up for, a little bit of fun, a little bit of improvisation, but stayed close to the script. And he also directed some of the best Star Trek stuff we have. So
I was watching First Contact this week, just in the background, and I put it on just to have something in the background, and ended up watching the first 15 minutes because I just was like, this is good shit. It's not a great movie, but it's a great Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
And it was like, he got it. He knew what he was doing. They were coming off of such a stretch that movie just works in that first 15 minutes, and the last 10 or so just work.
Yeah.
And hats off to him.
I saw First Contact in the theater. I saw it on opening day. I think I see it in the theater, and I was very excited because I think I was like 18 at the time, and
96.
yeah, and just the idea of getting to finally see Zephyr and Cochrane after hearing the name dropped here and there throughout the shows and whatnot, and the fact that we were going to bring back the Borg, we were going to get more reveal of the Borg. There was no Borg Queen before the movie. We had seen the Borg about 5 or 6 times, and they were a collective. There is no leader. That's just what it is.
And then after that, though.
But even as the Queen, I remember me and many other geeks talking it out of like, how many queens, if it's like bees, how many queens are there? How many, does a drone eventually become a queen? Can it? If is a freaking
Nerd.
Borg royal jelly, like stuff like that.
We need to have a drop of Donald Gibb from Revenge of the Nerds every time we do something like this, just going nerds.
There's a film that didn't age well, like a year after it was released.
There's a group of friends of mine went to see it, the first showing of First Contact at the Man's Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. And the story that they've told since that day, I unfortunately wasn't there, but they said previews end, Paramount logo comes up and everyone cheers. And it's like Paramount Pictures presents, cheers, Star Trek First Contact, ah! Patrick Stewart, ah! Jonathan Frakes, no cheers. And everybody starts laughing. So every successive credit, everyone just cheered louder and louder because they didn't cheer for the Frakes one.
Oh, man.
And it's like, that's one of those things I wish I'd been able to witness.
Oh, man. Yeah. All right. Well, that's our review, if you will, of Star Trek Lower Decks, episode 10, No Small Parts, the season 1 finale. Mike, on a scale, how would you rate this?
I'm going to rate the series or the episode and the series. I will rate this episode 3.5 Darmoks out of 5 Jalots. This episode to me is God. Let me see what episode I like and is inconsequential. This episode to me is Riker having nightmares, Riker being abducted by aliens, Riker, will he save the day?
Yeah.
And overall, I'd give the season as a whole, I would give it 3 Darmoks out of 5 Jalods. And I will just be blunt on this one. This season was season 1 of Deep Space Nine.
Nice. Yeah.
Rough, but I can see the potential, and I hope it gets better.
Yeah. For this episode, I'm going to give it 2 Darmoks out of 5 Jalods. I'm going to say this is the monster in Skin of Evil from The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it works, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's like
mentioned in this episode, doesn't she say like, I'm going to feed you to an Argus or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So, that might be why it's in my mind. But when I first saw it, I was like, yeah, that's a rug and a guy's underneath a rug going. At the same time, it's just an evil blob. I don't know what I was expecting. Like, what are you expecting? So
I wanted to recommend to you and to our listeners, the Star Trek 2 talk reminded me of this. I read this week the Star Trek Year 5 comic that IDW is putting out, where the conceit is we've never seen what happened when the 5-year mission ended. So here's the story of how it ended. So it's 15 issues so far, but it's really interesting. So it starts at the beginning of the 5th year, and Kirk gets a message saying, come on home. You're going to be promoted to an admiral because of the great job you've been doing. And it's him confiding in Bones, I don't want to. I want to be a captain. And so you see that conflict as he's coming home. You see Bones start getting disillusioned with Starfleet Medical and how they're treating things. You see Spock starting to realize maybe I'm not cut out to be a captain. So it's setting up everybody for where they go right before the motion picture. And I just found it really interesting. There's a story arc towards the beginning where they go back to the planet from a piece of the action with a gangster planet.
Hmm.
And you know how it ends with McCoy's communicator being left.
Yeah.
So now they come back and the planet is like advanced. They're not in the 1920s Chicago anymore. Now they're like futuristic society. And McCoy's like, I'm going to get court-martialed. Like, they're going to know it's my communicator that did this. So they go down to get the communicator and to stop what's going on. But I thought that was funny for me reading this the same week that Lower Decks has that thing in the beginning where they go back to the Landru planet.
I like that they went back to just worshiping the machine. And it's like, yeah, why not?
Oh, that was such a funny thing. But yeah, if you're a Star Trek fan out there, IDW, it's a series called Star Trek Year 5, and it has a pretty interesting villain so far. The first main arc just ended at issue 12 or 13, but right now the storyline, just so you, like, if you're wondering if you should plunk the cash down for this comic, a whole year, 12 issues worth of them getting back to Federation space, and now they're in Federation space. They get back, and like everyone here is in the new uniforms from the Star Trek the Motion Picture, those white jumpsuits with buckles. And Kirk even says, like, he tells one of the people he sees in the Starbase, he's like, didn't expect any uniforms. And she's like, yeah, all the women of Starfleet were like, we need pants, gentlemen. So it's nice that they're putting all these like little neat touches in. So if you like Star Trek and if you like actual good Star Trek comics, which there aren't that many out there,
yeah,
I recommend this one from IDW.
Yeah, and then just because I didn't say it, and I would give the overall first season.
Oh yeah.
2 Darmoks out of 5 Jalots. Where it does have some good moments, and I think there is potential. I don't think I could not recommend this season at all. I would recommend episode 6 and then parts of 9 and maybe parts of 10. But yeah, it just needed more of a one direction or another, or ideally, like episode 6 took the direction of both. Be funnier, or be more Star Trek, or be both. And episode 6 is that, where it is a funny Star Trek episode. So, and we don't have a lot of those, and that's not easy. That's not been done a lot. So, outside of Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, genuinely, I don't think I could say I recommend anyone pay CBS to watch Lower Decks, but there are a couple good episodes.
Yep. So now, next week, we'll be moving on to Star Trek Discovery, which James needs to do his homework because he does not know that show too well.
And I told you, this is almost like a soft reboot where this, because of the consequences of the end of season 2, this is an entirely, I won't say it's a new status quo because it's all the same characters, but it's a brand new situation for these characters. So I don't know if you have to catch up.
I would still like to. Like,
I'm not discouraging you.
Yeah. I'll make some time, and we'll be going into that because I like some of the actors on it, and some of the stuff I've seen on it I like. Some of the stuff I saw I really did not like. So, and I know some of that was from season 1, and there was a couple of the shorts that I watched that were really that I was not a fan of. So, but that's it. That'll be what'll be going into next, which is Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, week 11. It'll be like episode 14-ish because we did that Star Trek or the Star Wars episodes.
Yep, this is episode 13.
God, we are insane. So thank you guys for joining us for these last 10 weeks of Lower Decks, and we'll see you for the next 10 to 13 weeks of Star Trek Discovery, God willing.
Yeah, looking forward to it. All right. Goodbye, baby.
See ya.